Hi everybody. At the risk of sounding like Boris Johnson and making everybody bored with the sound of my voice, I'm about to share quite a lot of information about our reopening plan, and I thought that some people might find it difficult to take all of that on board from the written word, so I thought that sharing a video might be helpful. If you get bored of the sound of my voice, please know I won't blame you, and everything I'm about to say is also written in the document that will be emailed to you. So, as you know, on Sunday, Boris set a very aspirational target for us to open the school to reception Year 1 and Year 6 pupils on the 1st of June. This video isn't about deciding whether that's right or wrong. It's about sharing with you our plan for reopening and doing everything we can to mitigate the risks. We can't remove all the risks, and it will be for you to decide whether the risk is right for you and your family. And I want to say at the beginning that there will be no monitoring of attendance, there will be no fines. It is your choice, and if you choose that the risk is too great for you and your family, the school will support you, and we will continue to give you opportunities for homeschooling as we have been doing so far. In the government guidelines that I've been looking at, they are very aware that it will be very difficult to socially distance children of this age, and that the school will not be big enough to give 2 metres space around all the desks. So our risk assessment and our plan for reopening is based on that fact. The school is going to be a very different environment, and we're going to be putting lots of different steps in place to ensure that we do as much as we can to minimise the risks to the children and to the staff. In drawing up this plan and completing the risk assessment, I've liaised with my colleagues from the Wilmslow Education Partnership, the All Hallows Partnership, the National Association of Head Teachers. I've also looked and read and reread the guidance from the DFE and from the local authority, and put it into the context of our school with our staff and the space that we have available. So a brief summary to start with of the actions that we will take to minimise the contact between pupils. The classes will be split into bubbles of no more than 15. Each bubble will have no more than 2 adults assigned to it, and those adults will remain the same. They won't swap between groups. Each bubble will be given a classroom and will be based within that class at all times. They will come into that classroom through the fire escape in the morning. They may go onto the field. The only other place within the school building that they will go is to the toilet. They will not access any other areas in the school building. Each bubble will be given their own toilet, so they will not be sharing toilet spaces with different groups of children. So the bubble will not be able to socially distance because they will be in the classroom. They will be given their own space, their own desk space, but that will not be 2 metres apart from the other children. The classrooms are not big enough to facilitate 15 children 2 metres apart. We will keep them as far apart as possible, but they will be within that classroom, and it will be very difficult to minimise the contact between those 15 children. To minimise the contact with other places within the school, there will be a one-way system for drop-off in the mornings. Each class will be given a 10-minute slot, and they will come up the driveway of the school. All staff will park at the church, so the car park will be clear. They'll come up the driveway, around the front of the school to the classrooms, and then will come along the school field and out of the building along the pedestrian walkway. As I say, there'll be 10 minutes between each bubble. And the same at collection time. You'll be given a designated collection point, and that will be 10 minutes, every 10 minutes, to enable the car park to clear and parents to leave before the next bubble is collected. Packed lunches will be provided for reception and Year 1 for their universal free school meals, and children in Year 6 will be free to bring their own packed lunch or to pay for a packed lunch as normal. Packed lunches will be provided and served in the classroom, or if it's nice enough, on the field. That would be the preference. And the lunchtimes and use of the field will be staggered. We will also be zoning the field so that between the zones there will be a 2-metre channel into which the children will not be allowed to go. This means that if all children are on the field at the same time, there will still be 2 metres distance between the bubbles. Doors will be propped open so that children don't need to touch them as they move around within the classroom, going to the toilets. And there will be strict hygiene in place. So Mr Jeffers has done a fantastic job in the time that we've been closed in making sure that the school is spotless. And he will continue, I have no doubt, to do that when the children return. He's also agreed that he will be able to, if needed, work during the day as well to look at some of the hot spots of areas that the children might be touching. And of course, all teachers will be provided with cleaning products to help throughout the day. As children arrive, they'll be given hand sanitizer, and throughout the day will be encouraged to wash their hands. If they go to the toilet, they'll be asked to wash their hands again when they return to the classroom so that the teachers can ensure that they are doing that effectively. Within the classroom, as I said, they'll be given their own desk that will be clearly labelled. They will have their own chair that will be labelled, and they'll be provided with a plastic wallet full of equipment that only they will touch. We won't be sending homework home in paper format or books home. We will give you an online option for practicing reading at home. Children should come to school only with a water bottle. The water fountains will not be in use, so they will need to be sent with a water bottle. And they should not bring any other equipment with them. We don't want them bringing in bags, etc. We'd also like for them to wear their own clothes. The reason for this is that we will be making sure that the children have lots of outside activities, sports and other lessons outside. It would be very useful for the teachers if they didn't have to help the children get changed into PE kits, etc. So we would encourage children to wear clothes that it doesn't matter if they get scruffy, trainers so that they can take part in sports and they don't need to worry about changing their footwear. And we would ask where possible that children who can't tie laces don't have shoelaces, which will help the teachers not having to help them with that. And any clothes that you send them with, if they can take it on and off themselves, that would also be very helpful. We will be unable to provide an after school or before school provision because we don't want the bubbles mixing in those times. Pupils and staff will not be given protective equipment, PPE equipment. The government feel that isn't necessary. We will have a very limited amount of protective clothing for the teachers to wear that will only be used if a child presents with symptoms in school. Whilst they're isolating them and waiting for them to be collected, they would wear the protective equipment, and they will have some aprons, gloves and face masks to wear when they're changing nappies and for first aid. But apart from that, there will be no face masks. Children can bring their own face masks in should they choose, but we're not recommending that. We think that might cause some other problems. So if you feel strongly that you want your child to wear a face mask, then we won't stop you. But again, we won't be recommending that. When the information is sent through to you, which will be the week before the 1st of June, detailing which bubble your child is within, you will see in the information pack that there is a chart that details the time for collection and for drop-off and the location that should take place in. And there's full details in there, which I won't go through now. What we would ask is that as parents drop them off at the door, they don't stand and try to talk to the teacher and ask questions at that point. The teacher may well be the only adult in the room and needs to ensure that the children are using their hand sanitizer and going to the right place in the classroom. So we would ask that any questions or information you need to pass on, if you can take it to Mrs Bassoon in the office or call the school or send an email, that information will be passed along. Any choice of where the children go in the bubbles has been down to a number of factors, whether they are more confident and therefore able to cope with a different teacher or a different classroom, their need, the teachers who are available. We have not chosen those groups based on friendship groups. I know that will cause upset for some children, and where possible We have tried to ensure friendship groups, but it's not the top of our priority list. At the top of the priority list is the smooth running and the safety of the children. When children are coming back to school, we will be providing some form of video or PowerPoint to really explain to them the differences, because school is going to look very different. We know that a number of them are going to feel very anxious, and we're very worried about that. But we have to do what's going to keep them safe. So we will share information with you so that you can prepare them at home. We know that the first couple of days will be very difficult for everybody, but as they get used to it, we will support them in feeling comfortable in that environment. If you choose not to attend school, we will continue with home learning as normal. It may look slightly different because the teachers will be in the classroom all day teaching. So it may be a teacher from a different year group that's sharing the homework. Where possible, we will try to mirror what they're doing in the classroom as well, but it may well look different. We are not going to be asking lunchtime organisers to come into school because we don't want to bring more people into the mix. So teachers will be with their classes throughout the day, and we will try to give them respite throughout the day in the form of breaks, but we will not be mixing adults within classes. So it is likely that if you send an email or a message to a teacher, that they probably won't get back to you during the course of the school day, as they will be with the children for most of the day. If your child is in the years 2 to 5, we will continue to support them with home learning. Again, there will be some teachers who are unable to attend school. We fully support those teachers. We're very grateful for the work that they will be doing behind the scenes, and your home learning will continue in the same manner. As you will probably have seen, the government's aim is to get all children back into school for a month before the summer holidays. That's the only detail we've been given so far. If they expect a 15-child maximum per class, then clearly we will have to revert to some part-time teaching for different groups. If they expect all children to return for a month together, then clearly this plan will look very different, and we'll communicate that as we know more details. This plan is purely for the first part, the first phase, which is for reception, year 1 and year 6. In terms of the curriculum and what they will be learning, we've been again given very little guidance on this, but have been told that it doesn't need to be or won't look like the curriculum that we've been used to. Certainly for year 6s, it's going to be very different than what they would have expected and we'd have liked to have been providing at this time of year. We won't be running a school play, they won't be having their residential, they may not be with their peer group or with their friends. We are still in discussion with the high schools about transition and what that will look like. It's unlikely that they will be physically going to their new school, but we will hope to hold some sort of Zoom call with somebody from the high school to give them a bit of information and answer their questions. Certainly the first 3 weeks for the phased reopening, we will be conducting lessons in a more structured manner. So it will be learning time. There will be time for the creative and the fun parts of the curriculum as well, and sport, etc. But it won't be pizza parties and play preparation and all the fun stuff for the first 3 weeks. We do hope to be able to hold some of those activities, but that will be much further towards the end of the school year. So I think it's important to manage the expectations of the year 6s, in that when they come back, it will be a structured school day as they were used to before they left. There are some pupils who have additional needs. We will cater for those children. Full interventions clearly will not be achievable at the moment because we don't have the same level of staffing, but all the teachers will do everything within their power to give the children as much support as they can. And children who have an education healthcare plan will be placed in classes where there are 2 adults, so their needs will be met by those second adults. Those who are in reception in year 1, as I've already mentioned, will get packed lunches as part of the universal free school meals, and those children with free school meals who have been receiving vouchers will continue to do so until the end of June, as well as a packed lunch whilst they're in school. One of the questions that I've been asked a couple of times on the emails is, what about people, if my child is vulnerable or living with a vulnerable person? And I would suggest the first port of call is the medical professionals. The advice still remains, if your child is extremely clinically vulnerable, they should not attend school, or living with somebody who is extremely clinically vulnerable, that they need to weigh up whether that child is going to be able to socially distance enough to keep everybody safe. Again, any decision you make will be fully supported by school. We will not be checking on attendance or fining children or parents for non-attendance. We understand that everybody has a different viewpoint about whether it is safe to return to school. I thank you wholeheartedly for your very quick and thorough response to the survey that I sent out. It's been very helpful. I will send out another survey during what would have been half term, so the week beginning the 25th of May. And I will ask you in that one to give a firm indication of whether your child will be returning on the 1st of June. It would be very helpful to have a week's notice. So if you were to say you weren't returning on the 1st of June, it would be very helpful if you changed your mind, but it wasn't until the following week, because we need to plan groups, equipment, lunches, etc. So I will send out a survey the following week to see whether the numbers are going to increase for week 2. The other thing I'd just like to say is a thank you to all our staff, because as you will have seen, some unions are very hesitant about this return to school plan and have asked their members not to engage with any planning. But our staff are fabulous, as always, and have engaged with the planning and have helped me put this plan together. A large number of them have worked with the key worker children throughout this crisis and have not once moaned or complained. And I'm truly grateful for those members of staff. And to those who are at home, we fully support those members of staff, and we know that they are going to play a very important role behind the scenes. And also a thank you to the parents, because I've had no difficult conversations, I've had no difficult emails, and I really appreciate from the bottom of my heart that we have pulled together as a community, and it's been a very supportive process. You will have very difficult decisions to make about whether you send your child back in, and there will be no judgments from the school. We will support you fully if you want to stay at home. If you are sending your child in, we will do everything to make sure that they feel comfortable with the very strange situation that we all find ourselves in. And this video isn't in any way meant to persuade you one way or the other. I just thought it would be a good way to give you all the information clearly. If you have any questions, or you want to have a conversation with me, then please send me an email either via admin or the head teacher at stbenedicts.cheshire.sch.uk address, which is on our website if you don't already have it. And I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. All the information, as I've said, is in the document that will be sent to you. And I hope that this has just cleared up any queries that you may have. More than anything, we look forward to seeing you all back at school. I wish this was a normal situation and we were all starting again together, but we will do our very best and support you all, and we look forward to seeing you.